Good morning and welcome to AP on Play. My name is Anjali Prasad, your host. Happy New Year to everybody. Our first guest in the new year is Mr. Don Ufford. He is a candidate for the United States House of Representatives, Congressional District 11. Did I say that right?
You got it. That's right.
Our district, everybody. Bloomfield Hills,
Right here.
Bloomfield Township, parts of Beverly Hills, I think. And Birmingham?
It goes over to Hazel Park.
Okay.
And all the way north to Auburn Hills and then over to Wixom.
Okay, great. So we are the 11th district. The position is currently, Haley Stevens is our representative, but she has announced, she hasn't left yet, has she? She's still our representative.
Yeah, so she's still our representative.
So she's our representative.
But she is running for the U.S. Senate.
Which means that there are several candidates who are running for her position. And I'm so excited to have Don Ufford here because I've kind of heard about him on and off in the past couple of years. And without further ado, it's welcome, Don, and please give us a little background about yourself.
Well, thank you very much for having me on today. Yeah, I'm an engineer, a builder, a husband, dad, and that makes me different from the other candidates in this race. And I think that background, it's a rich background that really relates to a lot of the people in our district and here in our community. I started out as a kid with my family on the farm, mom and dad and my brother, and we were always working on things, always building things, and dad worked at a factory, so we had to make sure that we had things ready for him when he came home, so we could get things done, and that was great with mom and dad doing those things, but at the same time they also helped us focus on making sure we can help in the community, and they always showed that we could find time and the ability to help our neighbors and help in the community. And I think that's really stuck with me, throughout my life. I ended up going to college, and that was great. I got a chance, with Pell Grants and student loans to go to college and get an engineering degree and then come out here to Michigan and get a job at Ford Motor Company. What a great opportunity.
So you started, what year did you start at Ford?
1989.
Okay.
Yeah. So, seems like a while ago, but then on the other hand, it also seems like yesterday when, I walked in and it's a great job with benefits and vacation. And, it was it was amazing. And I got to work on pickup trucks and, vehicles that, I'd grown up on the farm driving them. Yeah. But here now I get to work on, an F-150 pickup truck. It's like, wow, that's amazing.
What was your job? What exactly did you do at Ford?
Yeah, I was in product development, and so I was an engineer in product development. So I would bring teams together in order to define what new vehicles need to be. So it was a lot of listening to customers, which is, in some ways similar to running.
Extremely similar, yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
As a congressional candidate, I'm out there listening, meeting people all the time, talking with them, and understanding what their issues and concerns are. And that's a lot of what I did when I was at Ford, and then in that case, I'd package things together in these complex, problems that we had to solve and working with teams, eventually around the world, trying to solve those problems to make sure that we had great products for the customers. So I love doing that. It was fantastic. And, at the same time I was building vehicles and that, I met my wife, and we had a chance to build a family here in Michigan.
Was she at Ford?
No, she was not.
Okay.
So I met her. One of those great small world stories is when I first came to Michigan, I volunteered with Scouts. Okay. And I said, hey, I'd like to help out. And I ended up being a scoutmaster of a troop, and the troop committee chairwoman introduced me to her niece.
Okay.
Oh, and so it's fantastic. And we got married, and we have 2 kids.
Yes.
Yeah, and our youngest is in the U.S. Army.
Right.
And in Alaska, we're sorry he's out of the house, but we're really proud of him.
And he was an IA kid, right?
And he was IA.
Yeah.
That's right. You got that exactly. And the IA is just it's another great example of bringing people together into a community.
Yeah.
And we love the IA program. While he is at IA, he also participated in FIRST Robotics.
Yes.
And I have an opportunity to be a mentor for that FIRST Robotics team. And that's a way to meet the young people and the youth and hear what their concerns are and help them learn more and learn skills that they'll be able to use in the future. And so I love doing that. And that was our youngest, though. And then our oldest, she ended up going to college and meeting her college sweetheart. She's a biomedical engineer. And then she ended up working while her husband went to med school, and now she's studying to be a doctor.
Okay.
So, she's out there, and she wants to help families and help people.
Is she here in Michigan? I can't
She is
remember.
not.
Okay.
And that's, again, we wish our children were closer.
I know. I'm facing this. My viewers know my youngest is getting ready to graduate, and so,
Right.
as parents, we all have to go through it. We want them to stay.
That's right.
But they leave at least for a short time. But we were talking offline about how wouldn't it be great if Michigan had an economy that attracted
Right.
our young people to stay here?
Right. Well, and that's where when I retired from Ford, I thought I could do more to help Michigan and the United States by going out and working in the U.S. Department of Commerce.
Yes.
Because in the Department of Commerce, I had an opportunity to work on the Chips and Science Act. And the Chips and Science Act was bill that put forth money to help bring advanced semiconductor manufacturing right here to the United States. And so it's not only manufacturing, but it's also the research and development and job training that goes with it. And, I was excited about that because it creates good jobs for people. And, there are semiconductor manufacturers here in Michigan and design houses here in Michigan. And, I was excited about that because it could help those Michigan companies and help create those opportunities for jobs here. And later on then, while I was in D.C., I got a call from the White House to go over and work in the White House on the EV transition.
Neat.
And, another opportunity to help with automotive, which has been so ingrained,
Right.
In not only my life, but also the lives of many of our constituents right here in the district.
So the White House then, when you worked in the White House, what was that, around 2020?
2023.
Oh, 2023.
2023.
Okay.
Yep. And then I ended up leaving the U.S. government at the beginning of this year with the change in administration. And I really thought I could help Michiganders more if I was not in the administration, if I was out, running for Congress and, helping to focus on those things that are important to Michiganders. So, that's where, my background is a builder. Right. I'm focused on building things here in Michigan, infrastructure and the good union jobs that you get with building infrastructure and building products. And whether it's, mobility or defense or healthcare or clean energy, we have that capability here in Michigan. So I'm focused on building and then protecting our health care.
Right.
Because health care, and I've seen some of your earlier segments, you talked about it, and health care is so important.
And it's so difficult to navigate for for all citizens. And
It is.
Costly.
And it's costly,
Yeah.
and the premiums have just doubled, and
yeah.
Congress has a mess. And, this administration has created a mess that Congress hasn't been able to stand up and solve. And so as a result, we have, millions of people whose premiums are going to double, and, Medicaid and Medicare facing cuts, which is unacceptable. I'm all for efficiency and effectiveness, but not flat out cutting. And, we're going to have people that are going to be in trouble because of that. They are not going to have adequate health care. So I want to make sure we have health care for everyone. And, that to me is important because it helps people, be able to be part of their community and be able to raise their family and be able to get to their jobs.
It's really fundamental, isn't
it
it?
is. It's
Yes,
fundamental.
We don't think about it, or many people don't think about
Right.
it that way, but it seems to me it's fundamental.
And, the third thing is I want to make sure we're focused on lowering costs because costs, with the tariffs, they've just got out of control. And, families are having a hard time at the grocery store. And I know what it's like raising a family, trying to make sure that, we have food and we're balancing that with the house and, the car and insurance payments. And by the way, things break, the dog gets sick. Oh my goodness. It's those unexpected things are out there and families are struggling with that, right now. And
Can we talk about tariffs? Because I don't have a lot of knowledge in this area.
Yeah.
And so maybe you could break this down for us a little bit.
Yeah.
Just give me an example of a tariff that affects me here in Bloomfield Hills. Can you walk me through it?
Yeah. When the tariffs first went in place last year, there's a tariff on coffee.
Okay, and first of all, what is a tariff?
So a tariff is you charge the importer when a good is brought in from overseas.
Okay.
And it's brought into the United States, then you can charge a tariff or you can charge that person that's importing it some amount of money. And the administration can decide what that is, and they can decide, what they're going to put that on. And so, in the case of coffee, they put a tariff on coffee, and you might have noticed the price of coffee's been going up in the grocery stores.
Okay.
Oh my.
Yes.
And that's what happens. So, when it comes in, if you're, buying coffee, and by the way, we don't make a lot of coffee here in the United States,
Oh, sure. Right.
Yeah, so
right.
you don't have a domestic source.
Right.
And so people end up paying more for that coffee at the end of the day when they go and buy it at the grocery store.
Because of this tariff that's on the coffee.
That's right.
Basically.
That's right.
Okay.
So anyway, those tariffs can, you can have those tariffs in place, and or you can decide to be more focused and, not hit things like food and things people need with tariffs. And so, that's one of those things. I think people are still watching to see how that goes through the economy, and so far it's hitting a lot of people pretty hard.
You've been out in the community talking to people, right? Garnering support. What are they telling you are their number one issues?
Yeah, they're talking about protecting their freedoms, which is part of my platform, where I think people have a right to be able to stand up and speak up. And they're worried about, can I still speak up? Am I still able to, go to the doctor for the care I want to be able to go to? And, do I need to worry about somebody else not liking me, just because of the way I look? And, it's gotten so much worse over the last year. And, so there's a lot of people, they're absolutely worried about that.
Yeah.
And then, there's fundamental concerns about costs. I talked about costs earlier, and, housing costs. And when I talk to young people that are, just getting into the workforce, they're like, geez, Don, I know my mom and dad bought a house. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to afford buying a house. and then they talk about utility costs, and so I think there's a lot of concern about costs out
Yes.
there, and they're like, why don't people do anything about that? And part of the answer is the politicians in Washington, they take money from corporate PACs, and those corporate PACs have a lot of influence over the fundraising. And as and as some of the previous guests have talked about, a race like this, you have to raise money.
Yes,
And
yeah.
an easy way to do that is take it from a corporate PAC. And a corporate PAC is one of those where a corporation can pool their money, and then they can make a contribution to an individual's campaign.
Okay.
And
Right.
it's pretty easy if you're in Washington, if you're in office, somebody can come into your office for a 10, 15-minute discussion, tell you about their issues, and give you a corporate PAC check. And so I've said I'm not going to take corporate PACs. I've signed the Citizens United pledge in Citizens United, which is I'm not going to take corporate PAC money. I'm also going to fight to eliminate individual stock trades by congressional members, because just after that corporate PAC maybe came in and maybe gave you a check and maybe told you about their important issues, you might go and vote on something. And by the way, your vote and the direction your vote goes might also impact your stock portfolio if you have individual stocks.
I see.
So I
Yeah.
said, that ain't right.
Right.
We need to have transparency around that. So I'm going to fight to ban individual stock trades and get dark money. That's that super PAC money where there's some individuals that, they can contribute huge amounts of money to what's called a super PAC, and then they can spend it as if they aren't talking to a candidate, but they can spend it on something that is very similar to what the candidate needs. And so you think back to what Elon Musk did, and that's an example.
Okay. Yes. These
So-
PACs are a whole different world. Like,
It is.
A layperson, I as I had said, I had just run an election, a very local election, but so maybe I'm not a layperson, but still I really don't know. The PACs are just an entity in themselves, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Wow,
They are. And
okay.
for an outsider, I'm an outsider in this process. I haven't been in politics before, and I'm new coming into it because I wanted to help Michigan families. And I'm learning a lot also.
So how are you raising money? Let's start.
Yeah, I'm meeting Michiganders.
Okay,
Uh,
yep.
I'm out talking to people, meeting people. People introduce me to other people. They say, "Hey, I met this Don Ufford guy. Why don't you come on over and meet him for coffee?" And it can be conversations just like this around coffee,
Yeah.
where they're saying, "Hey, what do you stand for? What are you interested in?"
That was the cool part of my campaign, was
Yeah.
meeting people who wanted to be met. I went door to door, so a lot of people were like, don't come to my door. But a lot of people went the extra mile and said, let's meet for coffee.
Right.
Let me know what you're about. I got to know them. Isn't that the cool part of campaigning?
It's so cool.
Yeah.
And then you meet folks that, they're an engineer. They say, "Hold it, you're an engineer? We don't have many engineers in Congress. We need more engineers in Congress because things are becoming more technical nowadays. And we need
Yes,
people
yes,
that
yeah.
have that science and technology background."
Yeah.
And so I'm interested. Tell me more, Or you see people, and you meet people that, that are involved with FIRST Robotics, or, their kids have gone through the school system.
Yes.
And you get all sorts of interesting questions about, hey, how did your kids decide to go there and do that? And, as a dad and husband, I can just relate to those questions.
Yeah. And, well, we were talking offline about your son, the IA kid, going to West Point.
Yeah.
Which is, not the normal trajectory for a Bloomfield Hills, Bloomfield Township kid, but
Right.
really just very impressive.
Yeah, we're so proud of him,
Yeah.
and we're so proud of him. He's in Alaska now, serving our country, and so yeah, we're proud, and we're proud of our daughter also.
Of course,
with
yeah.
going forward to with a heart to help people, And I think that's the other thing that's so important as I go around and knock on doors and meet people.
So tell me about your door knocking experience.
Oh, yeah.
Because very few people understand what it means to door knock.
Yeah, it's, it's a great part of the process, but boy, it takes a lot of effort.
It
Oh
is
my.
tough.
And as you know,
I would get, I don't know, I might have done 50 or 100 doors a night, and I'd get to like the last 25, and I just want to give up.
That's
but then
right.
somebody would open the door with the nicest smile on their face.
Yes. Yeah, and we've had a really similar experience. My wife and I, we were out this weekend knocking on doors, and that's always fun, and talking with her about, what did you hear? Oh, I heard this,
Yeah.
And my daughter, she was back over Christmas break, so she was out with me, knocking on doors. And so, it really means we go from house to house.
Right.
And, we literally knock on the door, push the Ring doorbell,
I know.
wait.
Stand there and wait because they're watching. And I would just be like, please answer. I know you can see me. I know you know who
That's
I am.
right.
Please answer your
I hear the dog. The dog is going crazy. So
The dog, that's right. We'd ring so many bells and the dogs would just erupt.
That's right. That's right. And then, but those voters that come and answer the door, then you can have a good conversation.
Yeah.
It's that in-depth, person-to-person conversation that I think is so great about, our democratic process and being able to get out and meet people. So I'm trying to do that as often as I can.
Yeah, and it says a lot.
It just makes me sad. I'm sure I won't be able to meet everybody, But
that's a good question. Do you know how many constituents are in our district?
The population of our district is around 800,000 people. So that's a lot of people out there that you can meet. And each one of those people, whether they vote or not, they're going to form an impression of you, right?
Right.
And
Sure,
so,
yeah.
you want to be out there meeting people, whether they're, with your party or not.
Yeah.
And whether they're supporting you or not, and just sharing a bit.
Yeah.
So I think that sharing that's the fun part of the process for me.
It is. Tell us about when you worked at the White House. What was that like?
Yeah.
Were you literally in the White House?
So I was in the White House compound, and
Okay.
so if you look at a picture of the White House, there's a fence around the White House
Yes.
and another building called the Eisenhower Executive Office Building, and they're right next to each other because the White House isn't very big and you can't fit a lot of staff in it.
Mm-hmm.
And the executive office of the president has a number of offices, such as the Office of Management Budget and the National Security Council and others. And so that staff is in the Eisenhower Executive Office Building. It's a really grand looking, huge history.
Yeah, I think I can picture it.
Yeah. And it's a cool looking building, and it's where the bowling alley is down in the basement,
sure, yeah.
So that's super cool. And and it has used to be the Secretary of State's office used to be in there, decades ago. And, so there used to be a lot of agency offices in there. So it's ornate inside, And so
what do you
just walking in.
Yeah, you
is
just walk in. That's
It's just
cool.
like this, oh my goodness, I'm here to serve the people
That's
of the United
cool.
States.
Yeah.
And just recognizing every day, that's my goal. How can I help the people of the United States, and be as efficient and effective as possible with their tax dollars?
Right.
And, at the end of the day, be proud when I walk out that, we've been able to help and we've been able to improve the lives of everybody in the United States, and especially Michiganders.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get interesting calls. I got a call from the National Security Council one time that said, "Hey, Don, can you help us build more submarines?" And I'm like, "What do you mean more submarines?" I said, I'm automotive with wheels, not water,
That's neat.
And, I said, hey, tell you what, we make a lot of parts. And so why don't you come to Michigan? I'll introduce you to people in Michigan. And, they came to Michigan, and they met our great state leadership in the governor's office, and they met our community colleges and the University of Michigan, and the end result was $50 million for Michigan to help lift up those dual use skills in
that's
welding.
neat. You never think about that.
No,
That's
you don't,
neat.
because we have so many manufacturers here in Michigan
Yes.
that make parts for the maritime
Right.
industrial base.
Right.
And so whether it's a valve or whether it's a stair or, a control system, they make these parts that then go into submarines and ships.
Yeah.
So it's an important thing, and that investment helped train our workforce, so our workforce is ready to build.
We don't really think about the auto industry working beyond automotives. But this is really interesting. I mean, I guess there's no reason why they can't work on submarines and helicopters, aircraft carriers, all this stuff.
Yeah, no, you're exactly
Yeah,
right.
we don't
and
think
things
about
like,
that. That's...
we've seen recent announcements where with reduced demand in EVs, now batteries, the manufacturers have put in place, battery manufacturing facilities that are now going to be targeted towards stationary power and stationary storage for power. So if you think of clean energy like wind energy and solar energy,
Right.
generates a lot of power during the day, or when it's windy, they need some place to store it. It'll go into those batteries. And, that's another way where the automotive industry is so important to America, so important to Michigan.
It's so versatile. But
Yeah,
you
so
don't think
versatile.
about, you think, at least I think it's very one-dimensional, but it's really not.
Oh, no, absolutely. And, there's a trickle-down effect, and it impacts everything. And, it impacts defense, and that's why defense is one of those sectors that to me is so important. And, healthcare and making products and the ability to make things with your hands.
Right.
And that's why we have great companies like Stryker, here in Michigan. But underlying all that, we also need to make sure we have great infrastructure, right? So, I think my combination of experience with, my federal experience and my experience in industry and, building a family here in Michigan, those are unique, and those are unique characteristics that no other candidate has, that really, I think, sets me up to, be really effective for Michiganders going forward.
Well, I am happy to have you here this morning. I just want to go through some nuts and bolts so our audience understands the election process. And I can speak on this personally because I just participated in an election. Correct me if I'm wrong. You are running in the Democratic primary, correct? Yep. And that election day is in August,
yep.
Correct? But I know that anybody can register for an absentee ballot. And I know the way you do that is you go onto the Secretary of State, type in your information, your driver's license number. They will send you an absentee ballot. As soon as you get it, you can fill it out and send it in. You do not have to wait. What else? There's also early voting.
Early in-person voting.
Yes, and I think that's about 7 or 9 days before the election.
9 days, yep.
And you can check your clerk's office to see where you can early vote. I can tell you in Bloomfield Hills, you can early vote right there at City Hall. I liked early voting because you never can control what happens on election day.
Right.
Maybe your kid's sick, or maybe you have to go to work, or maybe you have a flat tire. So I want to encourage everybody to vote, and I want to remind everybody that there's a couple ways to vote. You can go absentee, you can go early voting, or you can vote in person on election day. Did I miss anything?
Nope, I think you got it.
Okay.
Awesome.
Well, Don, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time. You mentioned that you are a robotics mentor and a Cub Scout leader or Cub Scout dad, let's call it. And obviously, you're very community oriented. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate anybody who wants to run for public service because it's not easy. So thank you for taking time to come meet with us this morning.
Well, thank you for running for office also. It's great talking to somebody and learning from somebody who's been through this before.
Yes, I don't know what I learned, but I know I learned something. So thanks again, audience. Thanks for viewing in. We'll see you next time on AP on Play.